Hello and welcome to That's a Wrap, a roundup of movie news from the past week. I am Joe Kohle. Here is what we are working on for you today. I will be joined by executive editor at AwardsWatch, Ryan McQuade. We will discuss the history made and the records broken at the box office this past weekend by Spider-Man Brand New Day. We will also have a picks preview today. Ryan and I will share our thoughts on the recently released trailer for Primetime, and we will wrap things up with what to watch. This week we are highlighting the film One Night Only, which released in theaters nationwide today, and we'll have my interview with the film's stars, Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner. Let's now bring in executive editor at AwardsWatch, Ryan McQuade. Ryan, thank you for joining us again. Really appreciate having you on. It's nice to see you.
Thanks for having me back, man.
Absolutely. So we are going to begin with cinematic history made this past weekend. Spider-Man Brand New Day earned a record-setting $360 million in its opening weekend at the domestic box office. That is the biggest debut in box office history, beating the previous record of $357 million set by 2019's Avengers Endgame. Both films are now the only two in history to cross $300 million in North America in a single weekend. Brand New Day opened with $932 million globally, the second biggest worldwide debut of all time, only behind Avengers Endgame with $1.2 billion. The fourth film in Marvel's Spider-Man series set several other records in its first weekend of release. It made $72 million in Thursday preview screenings, the most of any movie in history, and it also had the biggest opening day with $169.8 million. And the record-breaking box office debut by Brand New Day, combined with the ongoing commercial success of The Odyssey, helped to deliver the biggest collective weekend in box office history in the US and Canada. Spider-Man star Tom Holland has now appeared in the four films with the biggest global opening weekends of all time: Brand New Day, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and Spider-Man No Way Home. And Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned Leeds in Marvel's Spider-Man movies, had a role in all four of those movies as well. On Monday, Brand New Day surpassed $1 billion globally after 6 days in theaters, becoming the second fastest movie to reach the milestone. And on Tuesday, the film became the highest-grossing movie of the year after just 7 days in theaters. Another impressive aspect of the film's lucrative debut is that it hasn't yet played in IMAX in the US, as movies that play on premium large format screens come with higher ticket prices. But on Monday, IMAX announced that Brand New Day will expand in IMAX across North America beginning August 6th. Brand New Day didn't play in IMAX in its opening weekend because The Odyssey had a 3-week exclusive run, but now IMAX says the two films will share the IMAX global network across select digital IMAX locations in North America, while The Odyssey continues to play across all 41 IMAX 70mm film locations worldwide. Ryan, throughout your time appearing on this show, we have had conversations about the state of cinema, the box office struggles of the past few years, and the box office resurgence that is happening this year. And usually those conversations start with me asking you multi-pronged questions that you graciously and insightfully answer. But today, when it comes to the record-breaking box office debut of Spider-Man Brand New Day, I'm going to ask you one simple question. How did this happen?
I was expecting a record-breaking question that was going to be from different universes and dimensions, but no, a very simple question. I think this happened because Spider-Man is a brand.
Yeah.
And it can beat and defy any low expectations that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had, any negative reactions from a trailer like Doomsday has had, even though the numbers for those tickets are already extremely high. I think it's because Spider-Man is a classic character. And what we've seen from the rebrand of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is maybe a rejection of the new Avengers, of the new people that they want to sort of tell these stories, because audiences know that if you take a family of four, it's going to cost you $100 plus to go to the theater. And it has to be something worth their time. Now, The Odyssey is definitely that. but it's not for kids. The Odyssey is not for kids. It's an
Rated R,
R-rated, Christopher Nolan film, and it's going to make $1 billion easily, by the time of, this release, maybe even more, because we don't have the international numbers update every week, not every day.
Yeah.
It
hasn't even opened in certain territories.
It hasn't opened in China yet either, which it's going to do extremely well there. But Spider-Man is a brand like Batman. Like, you look at The Batman and Robert Pattinson's film there, that movie, I think a lot of people were sort of questioning how that was going to do, and it was a box office sensation for even a 3-hour runtime. Spider-Man's, and we kind of saw that this was coming. This trailer for the initial trailer for this film did YouTube records and social media records. And so we knew that Holland himself as Spider-Man has made some of the biggest films of all time. You mentioned them. I mean, No Way Home was a massive success and was actually, even before Top Gun Maverick, really the film that got everybody to go back to the theaters. And it's sort of, and you and I talked a little bit over the last couple of weeks about, like, what is success for Spider-Man and what is success for the MCU? Like how does this movie get them there? And I'll tell you this, it's met the over rather than the under.
Oh, yeah.
The under is like this as a total box office, like just getting to where it's at. I think it's close to 1.2 billion as we speak. It could break it's going to break 2 billion by this coming weekend. And then the question becomes...
Really, you think so? Because, I mean, No Way Home only just got to right under 2 billion.
It will break 2 billion.
There's
based
been
off
talk
of
about how it might not have the legs that like a Doomsday or that Avengers Endgame had, and that it's still at 1.5 to 2 is the range, but you think it could get over 2?
I think box office projections are saying that it could be 2 billion by the end of this next weekend.
It's wild.
Because there's no new release that challenges the demand to see this film. And also people are still seeing the Odyssey, but it's not really impacting that audience. It's kind of the great thing, even though they weren't the same weekend. This is the Barbenheimer test of like, you can have the adult film over here and you can have the more family driven film over here, and they can both play and be very successful. What I will say is that if it does hit close to the 2 billion mark, then the question becomes, not only will it then be probably the highest grossing Spider-Man film, how close will it get to being the highest grossing film of all time? It has the legs to do that. Plus, you're mentioning they're doing this all without IMAX, which they will have IMAX screenings starting here very soon. So I wouldn't put it past it being in the realm, because it's done so well here. I mean, to crack nearly 1 billion is what Avengers Endgame did.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of also great other characters inside of it. It has also the launch of the next phase of the MCU inside of it as well, without getting into any spoilers about that. And I will say that, this proves a couple of things. One, that Spider-Man is a consistent brand with Tom Holland in the center of it. I think that he will definitely be back at least 2 more times. And that if they were smart, they were classic characters, or where they would go back to the well here, and I think that maybe a Hulk film with Ruffalo wouldn't be out of the realm, maybe another Thor film, because you have to balance that out with the new stuff. Like, they have been giving us mostly the last couple of years only side characters or new characters, and audiences have been kind of rejecting that or staying away from it. They give them a marquee character in a film that continues their story from a couple of years ago, and they don't care about any of the problems.
Yeah.
Like it's like the characters in there, they forget about everything in the MCU up to that point, and they go, all I care about is Spider-Man. And it doesn't matter if 3 Spider-Man in it, because the Hulk's in it, and Punisher, and the new characters, and all this different stuff. And Holland is a massive box office draw. I mean, between this and the Odyssey, he is right up there in terms of the IP and in terms of working with directors, and it will be very interesting to see what he does with this, because I think he's getting close to being in the Chalamet area where he could carry a film on his own. I think the Uncharted film explains that a little bit too, but he's got to get out of IP and do something like a Marty Supreme for us to fully get there. But maybe that's what the Fred Astaire film is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the Hulk, there being a Hulk movie is a little complicated. I think Mark Ruffalo has talked about how Kevin Feige has told him that there will never be another standalone Hulk movie because of Universal's ownership of the rights to Hulk and the complicated nature of that whole situation. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to quickly mention about the why of Spider-Man Brand New Day doing so well. There was some information that I don't have the exact information in front of me, but some survey or something about the reason as to why people were going to see Brand New Day. And I think the leading thing was wanting to go see Tom Holland over wanting to see a Spider-Man movie. They wanted to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So it seems like people want to see his version of the character just as much as they like seeing a Spider-Man movie. But
I mean, they love him and they love Zendaya.
And Zendaya was another.
And they love him, and they love him together. They're a great couple.
Yeah.
They keep everything really private, but they just, I mean, listen, people have found like it's really Peter and MJ, like a literal Peter and MJ are married and people love them and they have power and people want to see them on the screen as these characters.
Yeah. So last week on this show, I spoke with Perry Nemiroff about how Brand New Day was projected to open with $260 to $280 million at the domestic box office, that some more bullish box office estimates were suggesting that a start of over $300 million was possible, but it doesn't seem like anybody was expecting it to earn $360 million and beat the record set by Avengers Endgame. Brand New Day also recorded the best Monday of all time at the domestic box office with $47 million, the best Tuesday ever with $42 million. On Thursday, the film became the fastest to cross $500 million at the domestic box office. The film, along with The Odyssey, also helped to give AMC Theaters its biggest global weekend in revenues in the company's 106-year history. And as The Odyssey, we mentioned, is heading towards $1 billion, it helped to make Universal the first studio to earn $4 billion at the global box office in 2026. In an interview with Variety, when responding to the box office success of Spider-Man Brand New Day, Sony Pictures chairman Tom Rothman said, "So I guess movies aren't dead after all. What happened is miraculous. Spider-Man is uniting people across cultures and ages." And Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige noted to Variety in an interview with the outlet, quote, "The first movie to ever cross $100 million over opening weekend was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. The first to cross $150 million in one weekend was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. The first to $200 million was the first Avengers. And then, of course, the first to $300 million was Endgame. We did think that things could increase, but the past 5 or 6 years didn't necessarily feel like that was the case." That's a long-winded way of saying I did not expect Endgame's record to be beat, but I couldn't be happier that it was beat this past weekend by our 38th MCU movie. Both Rothman and Feige talked about the possibility of there being a 5th Spider-Man movie starring Tom Holland. Rothman said, quote, "I heard Tom say at some point that he wanted to continue, and we would love it if he did." And Feige said, quote, "There are always plans, but right now he's going to rest after that global tour. He and Zendaya are going to take a good and restful victory lap, which they very much deserve." Holland and Zendaya were asked about starring in a 5th Spider-Man film in an interview with French pop culture outlet Seriously, and Holland said, "I mean, we would love to. What is on the cards is a little unclear right now, but I'm sure that whatever happens with Spider-Man, it will be very bright." And during a recent interview with Josh Horowitz on his podcast, Happy, Sad, Confused, Holland said that there is a plan in place that has been in the works for years for him to pass the baton to his Spider-Man successor. Over the years, Holland has talked about wanting to help introduce Miles Morales into the MCU. In an interview with Empire in May, Holland said, quote, "For whoever's next, whether that is a Miles Morales or a Spider-Gwen or a Spider-Woman, I would love to be a part of setting up the next chapter." We do know that Miles Morales exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because in 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming, Donald Glover appears as Aaron Davis, who is the uncle of Miles Morales. He even mentions in the film that he has a nephew. Last week, there were some somewhat controversial articles about Tom Holland, the state of his career and his movie star persona. On Tuesday of last week, Vanity Fair published an article titled, "Tom Holland is king of the summer box office. Now it's time for him to grow up," with a deck that said in part, the 30-year-old actor is poised to be the king of the box office this summer for playing two childish roles. We think it's time for the actor to hang up the tights. Vulture also published an article on Thursday of last week titled, "When Will the Movies Let Tom Holland Grow Up?" There was also an article from BBC last week titled, "Tom Holland's Spider-Man Needs to Evolve." It argued, quote, "Holland is 30 now. After all, if his Spider-Man isn't allowed to evolve, then he should probably hang up the red and blue costume and let a younger actor have a turn." So these articles examine both Tom Holland's evolution as a movie star, the future of the Spider-Man character. They question whether he can break beyond his youthful Spider-Man image and find success in taking on more complex and mature roles. They argue that he might need to stop playing Spider-Man in order to do so. Those articles received some backlash online, but the conversation about Tom Holland's career beyond Spider-Man and his success as an actor outside of the Marvel films has been one that has been happening for a while. Van Lathan recently appeared on the Ringer podcast, The Big Picture. He talked to hosts Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins about how a lot of Holland's non-Marvel films haven't fully connected. He mentioned 2021's Cherry and Chaos Walking, 2022's Uncharted, which was actually Holland's most recent film before The Odyssey and Brand New Day. It was successful at the box office, but received mixed reviews from critics and didn't seem to have the cultural resonance that you would expect from a film that performed as well as it did financially. So yeah, that's a lot of info, but Ryan, I wanted to talk more about Tom Holland because last week on the show, I said something that was a bit inelegant, maybe a bit unfair. I mentioned how there were some who were critical of Tom Holland's performance in The Odyssey, how there are some who have said, mostly on social media, that he isn't a good actor. And last week I said that because of the performance that Holland gives in Brand New Day, anyone who has ever said that he is a bad actor should count themselves fools. I thought he was very good in the film, maybe his best performance in any of the Spider-Man movies, but I just want to say everyone is obviously entitled to their opinion, and that includes thinking that Tom Holland isn't good in The Odyssey. I love The Odyssey. I thought his performance was good. I definitely wouldn't say it was one of the best performances in the film, but I didn't think it stood out in a negative way or that he was out of his league in comparison to some of the other actors, which is an opinion, Ryan, that you have shared and that others have shared. But I think to make the blanket statement that Holland isn't a good actor is a bit misguided and one that I strongly disagree with because I think his performance in the Spider-Man films have been great. I don't think his performances in some of his other films are the reasons that those films didn't fully work. I actually thought he was quite good in Cherry, even though I didn't think the movie was good. I also thought he was very good in the Apple TV series, The Crowded Room, even though I didn't think that show was good. But I regret saying that anyone who thinks he's a bad actor is a fool. Do you have any reaction to what I just said or any thoughts on the state of Holland's career and all the conversation that's happening about it?
Anybody that goes after you, Joe, is a fool. How about that?
I'm going after myself. I haven't heard any criticism. I'm just like, I like to be measured with my, that was like, it was a little bit flippant of a thing for me to say.
I think that it's very interesting because I think Tom Holland, I think that there is a want and a need to find other movie stars that aren't just Timothée Chalamet. Yeah. And I think through what you were saying about the surveys there, they're saying that people love Tom Holland and they love him as this character. Rightfully so. I mean, we love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. People love Chris Evans as Captain America. And they're either returning to those characters or playing a new version of something in the MCU. What I'll say is that for Holland especially is that he's really done a lot of Spider-Man stuff and hasn't really been given the full opportunity to show his range. Now, for as many people that don't agree with me in thinking that he's one of the weak spots of the Odyssey, there are a ton of people that think that he is one of the best, if not the best, portion of that film and of that casting. And I think that that's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
But that means that people are reacting. And also it means something that Christopher Nolan, who can cast just about anybody in the world he wants, he put him in the role of Telemachus, and whether it's because of his popularity or not, whether it's because he wanted Zendaya as Athena, whoever knows, he worked with him on this film. And between Spider-Man: Brand New Day and between the Odyssey, Tom Holland will be most likely the highest grossing actor this year, because these movies are going to make billions of dollars. And I think that it's what he does next is interesting. I mean,
I'm very excited for the Fred Astaire biopic, and to see. Obviously, he has experience as a dancer.
Yeah,
he started his career in Billy Elliot as a dancer, and to see him take on that role, that will be a good test to see.
It will be.
Yeah,
it'll be a good test not only for his acting ability, which I don't think he's a bad actor. I just think him and Nolan made some poor choices in that film. It wasn't it just didn't fit for me. But again, others really liked it. And I love him as Spider-Man. I think he's, I'm not as big on Brand New Day as some people, but yeah. I will say that, McGuire has always been my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I loved what Andrew Garfield did, even though he was in some pretty mediocre films.
Yeah. But I did see you say that you thought his performance was good, Holland in Brand New Day.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a really good performance.
Yeah.
And I think that I think he might be the best Spider-Man. So we'll see. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Going forward, like what he does with his career, I'm not willing to judge him just yet and say that he's a one-trick pony. I'm not willing to say that he won't be able to have a career beyond this. Like, I think that he's showing us. It's what he's going to show us after this is really what's going to make it. I mean, like Timothée Chalamet before Marty Supreme really didn't have a box office hit to his name. The Dune films were carried by Denis Villeneuve. Call Me by Your Name is his one standout role. The Impossible.
Wonka did
Tom
well.
Holland.
A complete unknown.
Wonka did well,
better than I think people thought it would.
That's from the director of the Paddington films, and it's IP. And that could be Wonka is his Uncharted. And so, the comps are there, but we let Chalamet have as much rope in the world as we can to then build out his brand and who he really is. And even in A Complete Unknown, he's playing Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's going to play Fred Astaire. Like so it's, can Tom Holland take an original property, right? Original property, and do the sort of the Marty Supreme? We'll see. Who knows? Like he's still very young, and he's only 30. He's not 50 years old, and he has plenty of time. But in between those, he's going to do some Spider-Man films, probably about maybe two more,
We'll see.
And I think he's going to do two more, and he's going to pass the baton on. But he understands the responsibility of all this, and he's very smart. But also, he might do a couple more films, do the Spider-Man films, and then say, you know what, I'm done. Like, he's got a successful non-alcoholic beer company. He's got
featured prominently in Brand New Day.
He's got a wife that is just as popular, if not more popular than he is. That's a global superstar. Like, he doesn't have to do everything. He's talked about hanging it all up and being at home while she's the one, making films. So, we don't need to judge somebody. I mean, I think that the culture right now, you look at what's going on with somebody like Ariana Grande and all of that, and just know that, like, we're trying to put labels on so many people in this world. Let's give them an opportunity to build a career. We weren't doing this with Leo and Damon and Pitt, and
social media
Clooney
obviously wasn't as prevalent then. But
it was not as prevalent, but like the expectations
or
are
prevalent
like,
or existing at all.
Yeah, existing at all in general, but like, let him make some projects, let him produce some things. He hasn't had that opportunity yet. He talked about the Odyssey, even though, again, I'm not a big fan of the performance, but he talked about like that changed his perspective on filmmaking, producing, the type of things, and he was very involved with the Spider-Man. Let him and Amy Pascal come up with something original for him to do. Work with another director. I mean, it could be something that audiences want to see.
Yeah, there's some other things that he's been attached to. I think a movie with Austin Butler and some other stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
He's on the short list also for
James Bond.
I don't
think that's happening.
So I don't think that's going to happen. But
he's talked about wanting to play that role. That James Bond and Spider-Man were the two roles that,
who wouldn't want to play that role? But yeah, Joe, if they offered it to you, you'd take the role of James Bond.
I would not. As an American, I wouldn't.
You would. The money would be right.
But yeah, as Bill Simmons would say, I'm not selling my stock on Tom Holland Island. I'm a believer. But yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ryan and I are going to share our thoughts on the recently released trailer for Primetime. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm still here with Ryan McQuade, executive editor at AwardsWatch. It is time now for Picks Preview, where we break down the latest trailers and teasers for some of Hollywood's most anticipated films. On Thursday, A24 released the official trailer for Primetime. The film stars Robert Pattinson as To Catch a Predator host Chris Hansen. Its official logline reads, quote, "In 2006, To Catch a Predator host Chris Hansen sets out to make television history. To Catch a Predator was a true crime program that was part of Dateline NBC and ran from 2004 to 2007 on NBC. It followed Hansen's efforts to catch child predators in complex sting operations. The cast of Primetime also includes Merritt Wever, Skylar Gisondo, and Phoebe Bridgers. The film's director is Lance Oppenheim. It is his first narrative feature film. He previously directed and created the 2024 HBO docuseries Renfair. Last month, it was announced that Primetime will have its world premiere at the main competition of the 83rd Venice Film Festival in September. And A24 also announced that the film will release in theaters in the U.S. on September 25th. Ryan, you were on the show in May when we talked about the release of the official teaser for Primetime. What did you think of this new trailer?
I thought it was fantastic. I think it might be the best trailer I've seen this fall so far.
Looks awesome.
And it looks like it looks awesome even for that subject matter. It looks completely intense. Lance Oppenheim, if you know him as a documentarian, he has such a searing eye on humanity and the things that are underneath sort of institutions. And I think that this is going to be an event and culminate a year for Pattinson that has been the strongest year of his career. I mean, you look at the drama, you look at the Odyssey, you look at the potential for this film, and then, of course, his part in Dune Part 3. He's had just as big a year as probably Anne Hathaway, as Tom Holland, as Zendaya, but I think that this trailer, if I could speak so boldly, I have the feelings of this will be potentially Pattinson's first chance to get that buzz that we'll talk about here in a little bit. I was feeling the excitement of this is a generational actor, giving his all, playing a real person, playing this very larger than life, probably a little bit dramatized, version of the events that happened during this time. And it's with a creepy little voice and the things that he always does. He is the chameleon of a generation. And who would have thought that the guy that was sparkling in Twilight would be doing that?
One of our most transformative actors.
He really is, and it is crazy that he has not been celebrated. I feel that he is still kind of pigeonholed or unfairly treated because of those Twilight years. This is, to me, the best actor working today, period. And when he delivers something, we should all be paying attention. And this film is definitely, off of this trailer, looking like something that will be sparking conversation, which is what I love about films in general. And I cannot wait to see this. I saw this trailer. I was hesitant to actually watch the trailer. I knew we had to cover it here, and I was going to reach out to you and be like, I don't know if I want to watch the trailer because I want to go in as blind as possible.
I feel you.
And I was glued. I was like, when can I have this movie now? Do we have to wait until September 25th? I think it looks creepy and it gave me a little bit of like Nightcrawler vibes to it, and a little bit of like Network as well. So the Great City of Lumet film of just this manipulation of this danger of going down this rabbit hole of what is media and stuff. And so if Pattinson's on board, sign me up.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention is that the trailer features Jeff Zucker, who is playing himself in the film. He was the president and CEO of NBC Universal from 2007 to 2011. He went on to run CNN as the president of CNN Worldwide. As I mentioned, To Catch a Predator ran from 2004 to 2007. And at the time, Zucker was the president of the NBC Universal Television Group. He was later promoted to CEO of NBC Universal Television Group. He was responsible for all programming across the company's television properties. So with Lance Oppenheim and his background as a documentary filmmaker, makes sense that he wanted to cast Zucker to play himself to give the film a sense of realism. I think that's a really cool choice. On Wednesday, ahead of the trailer's release, A24 released a new poster from Primetime featuring Pattinson as Chris Hansen. We mentioned how it's kind of the year of Robert Pattinson. When you were on the show in May, we talked about that. As you mentioned, he starred along Zendaya in The Drama, which released in April, starred in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which is in theaters now, released a few weeks ago. He is in Dune Part 3, which releases in December. He will also star alongside Denzel Washington and Daisy Edgar-Jones in Here Comes the Flood, a Netflix heist film that does not have an official release date, but is expected to release this year. And he's currently filming The Batman Part 2, which is set to release in February of 2028. They keep pushing that movie back, but at least it's filming now, and we know that it's going to exist. Pattinson, as you mentioned, already receiving some Oscar buzz for his role in Primetime. Obviously, the movie hasn't even been released yet, and it's difficult to talk about the chances of him landing a nomination until it does. But do you see there being a path for Pattinson to receive his first Oscar nod for his performance in this film?
I do see the path for him.
It's a crowded year. It
is a very crowded year in Best Actor, but when you have, sometimes people get in because of a year's worth of achievement.
Yeah.
It is also, if I went up to people and said, hey, Robert Pattinson doesn't have an Oscar nomination, they would go, yeah. I mean, he has to have one, right? Like he's been delivering top tier performances in every film for the last decade, and he doesn't have any acknowledgement, any major stuff, but he also is playing a real person. He's also doing something that is a bit unhinged. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it has the energy of like when they nominate, somebody like Joker, or when Jake Gyllenhaal was very close for Nightcrawler, and but Jake Gyllenhaal was already an Oscar nominee. He was nominated for Brokeback Mountain, and so that wasn't like him breaking through. But he just hasn't had that second nomination. He hasn't had that second nomination before. And what I would say about Pattinson is that he's very popular. He's very interesting figure himself when he does press. But I mean, if he's riding off the tails of being in The Odyssey and Dune and doing all these things, and people see what I see in this trailer, which is the potential to be his best performance, which is saying a lot. Like it looks like he's giving it all in this thing. And I think that there will be a time when he delivers something that will be undeniable. Now he has to go up against Tom Cruise in a film that I don't think particularly looks great, but
Tom Cruise for Digger, Matt Damon for The Odyssey. We got like some of the other performances getting buzz. Andrew Scott for Elsinore.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan for Fjord. There's John Turturro in The Last Pickpocket in New York, which I think will be very big. I mean, there's the Wild Horse 9 crew, which John Malkovich,
Sam Rockwell. It seems like John is going to be the lead. John Malkovich is going to be the lead for that, and Sam.
I didn't know you hung out with John Malkovich. That's really awesome. But no, yeah, I think so. And so like
Pedro Pascal for Behemoth.
Behemoth. Yeah. I mean, so it's a tough field, but we also do see every now and then like a sort of a Paul Mescal Aftersun where a solo nominee can break through. And I mean, that was Amy Madigan last year. She broke in there for Weapons and ultimately won the Oscar. We see this from time to time. So when you're somebody like Pattinson, who's worked with pretty much everyone at this point in the industry and is really well respected, if you deliver the work, and you go and do the campaigning like I think he will be and do the press, it'd be hard for him not to be ignored this year. So I definitely have him in the 1 to 10 range.
Yeah.
And if the movie is exactly what I think it's going to be, look out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this trailer, it's already generating a lot of praise and excitement on social media. I saw Matt Neglia, from of Next Best Picture, owner and executive editor of Next Best Picture, I think is his title. He raised Pattinson up into his top 5, which I think bumped Tom Cruise for Digger out of his top 5. Eric Davis responded saying that he has Pattinson in for both lead and supporting. I assume supporting would be for The Odyssey, not Dune Part 2 or Part 3. So it's already starting to get people's attention and maybe start having people reconsider his chances. And with the, like you said, with the year he had, he's going to stick around in the conversation. So I think it could be it could happen, but we'll see. And I'm obviously I'm very excited to see the film. But Ryan, that's all the time we got. I really appreciate you making the time for us. It was nice to talk to you and see you.
Thank you, Joe, for having me on. It was wonderful being back on.
Absolutely, buddy. All right, so coming up, a new movie to watch in theaters this weekend is One Night Only. I was recently at the New York City press junket for the film. We will have my interview with its stars, Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner. That's after a quick break. Welcome back. It's time now for What to Watch, where we put the spotlight on movies hitting both theaters and streamers. Today, we are highlighting One Night Only. It is a romantic comedy from Universal Pictures, starring Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner. Per the film's official synopsis, they star as Allie and Owen, two love-starved strangers who crash into each other in an ever so slightly fictionalized New York City on the one night of the year when single people are allowed to have sex. The film's cast also includes Maya Hawke, Julia Fox, King Princess, Ben Marshall, Z-Way, Molly Ringwald, and LeVar Burton. One Night Only is directed and produced by Will Gluck, based on a script from Travis Braun. Gluck's previous films include 2010's Easy A, 2011's Friends with Benefits, and 2023's Anyone But You. I recently had the opportunity to speak with Barbaro and Turner at the New York City press junket for One Night Only. Take a look. So Pixel11's slogan is New York's very own. I think this is a great New York movie. Will Gluck said in a promo for the film that New York is so full of energy and so full of people that it expands the pool of people that you could potentially meet and fall in love with. So can you just elaborate on why New York was the right place for this film to be set and what it was like to shoot in New York?
You know, it's so funny because I feel like New York is full of people, and yet a lot of people also say it's the most lonely city. And I think dating here is really hard, and I think you can meet a lot of really wild people on the way to meeting the love of your life. And I think that is very expertly exemplified in this movie. Also, with the world of this absolutely crazy holiday, which if you live in New York, you know that holidays are the time for the crazies to come out. And we were filming during Halloween and we were just looking around. We were like, oh, yeah. That's it. We're spot on. Got it.
Did you have a favorite New York location where you shot? The Little Red Lighthouse is tough to beat. I didn't even know that existed.
That's special,
Me either. And it does. It's really cool. You can go there.
No one on our crew really knew what that was or that it existed.
Yeah.
Mine was the bodega, actually. That whole sequence was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Monica, I had the pleasure of speaking with you on the carpet at the premiere for A Complete Unknown.
Oh my God.
And we talked about how before that film, you didn't really have any experience singing in a real way. My uncle is a musician, a multi-instrumentalist, and I told that to him. He was like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't understand, because you're so good that it didn't make sense to him."
Thank you so much. Those are the people I feel like do that for.
Yeah.
Not only Joan, but like the musicians who are going to watch this or watch a film and go, she is or she isn't legitimate.
Is this going to be your thing? What was it like to get to sing again in a movie so quickly?
I was terrified. I thought I like figured it out, but I was absolutely, I cried in my trailer that morning because I didn't want to do it. But the great thing about Allie was that she wears all her insecurities on her sleeve. So I could just use everything I was feeling and act that out. And it worked.
Callum, you sang in Masters of the Air. Might we hear you get to sing again in another project in the future?
I mean, if something comes along, then yeah, but nothing on the horizon right now.
Okay, fantastic.
You're going to be really upset when you see the other interviews because he's singing in like half of them.
I think it's great that you both are starring in this film together. I feel like your careers have kind of been growing simultaneously over the past few years, and I think it's a great pairing. Can you just talk about what it was like to work with each other, what you both admire about each other as actors?
I just love how meticulous Monica is in every part of her approach, and then when we get to set, she's just so free and playful and open and can pivot at every moment. So it was a real luxury to work with her.
I mean, all the same to him. I was a huge admirer of his work, and I was very excited about the opportunity to do this film so that I could work with him. And it's just amazing because he takes the work so seriously. He really cares about it and is a film lover. And also knows how to not take himself too seriously or the process too seriously, and knows how to let it fly and be really free in the scene work. And he listens so well. And I think that's just a really special quality and like a testament to how he can develop incredible chemistry with everyone he works with. And we just had a great time with Will too.
Yeah.
And I've heard this described as like a high concept rom-com, obviously a different twist on the genre. Can you just talk about what drew you to this movie specifically, why this was the kind of the right rom-com for you to do?
I was very excited about getting to shoot in New York. Anytime I hear that, I'm like, oh, what's the project? But also, Will described this. Basically, he was like, my film list for this movie is Uncut Gems, After Hours, and Midnight Run. And I was like, you didn't mention a single rom-com. And yet he knows how to make a brilliant rom-com and, make the biggest expressions of love and give the audience goosebumps. So I was like, okay, he knows how to do that. He also is working with in a different way on this. He's going to do handheld cameras. He's going to make it like really energetic and chaotic and very like gritty New York. And I just thought that was such an interesting approach. That felt like a fun time to me.
Yeah. I mean, all of that, but Will Gluck, I think he's the rom-com king. And so to jump into his world with him and with Monica was a no-brainer.
I also got the chance to speak with Gluck at the press junket for one night only. You can watch my conversation with him online at pix11.com and on Pix11's YouTube channel. Before we go, some stories from this week that were left on the cutting room floor that we did not have time to get to. Deadline reporting that Michael star Jafar Jackson is joining Will Smith in Supermax, an upcoming action thriller from Amazon MGM Studios and Miramax. The Devil Wears Prada 2 earning the biggest live-action movie premiere on Disney Plus and Hulu since 2024's Deadpool and Wolverine, with 15.2 million global views in the first 5 days of availability. Warner Brothers moving the release date for its Special Forces Commando film, Fast, which is written by Taylor Sheridan, to May 14th of next year. Netflix setting its longest theatrical window ever for La Bola Negra, which is set to play in theaters on October 16th for a 47-day exclusive window before it lands on Netflix on December 2nd. David O. Russell's upcoming film Madden, starring Nicolas Cage as John Madden, setting a Prime Video release date. The movie that also stars Christian Bale, Kathryn Hahn, Sienna Miller, John Mulaney, and Shane Gillis will stream worldwide on the platform on November 18th. Amazon MGM Studios releasing the official trailer for Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother, starring Mahershala Ali. Brittany Snow joining Sydney Sweeney in the Housemaid sequel, The Housemaid's Secret. Variety reporting that Maude Apatow's directorial debut, Poetic License, starring Leslie Mann and Cooper Hoffman, is set to be released by Sony Pictures Classics. And Deadline reporting that Kit Connor is being eyed to play Cyclops in Marvel's upcoming X-Men film. And that does it for today's edition of That's a Wrap. Make sure to stay tuned for more on Pix11 Plus. I am Joe Kohle. Thank you for watching.